boat, my wife and me. This is way back, 94.
Who's that, Andy Lacko? Looks like Andy when he's a kid.
Which one?
You.
Oh yeah?
Looks like him when he was a kid.
Anyway, that was 47 pounds.
Where were you?
We weighed it. That was at the bait store in Clayton. Back then we kept fish and everything else.
Radke hanging out of his mouth.
Yep, that's what I caught it on. Yep. Unbelievable. Nice fish. So I've been doing it a while. This guy right here is my buddy. The last day of the season this year, we caught a fish, and he's kind of like Andy. He's like my good luck charm. We always have a good attitude, and we generally catch fish, but he's been catching fish for 40 years with me. He moved away. He's a very good fisherman. This is Laura Weber, who is Russ Fineout's daughter. She fished 11 people that were first-time anglers, 11 people that fished one time, caught fish on my boat, beginner's luck. She invited like 13 or 14, 11 of them caught fish, and she ran out of people that would go fishing with her. Honest to God, she would beg people to go because the beginner's luck was so unbelievable with her. And I don't think she herself ever lost a fish she was playing. She caught a lot of them. Pretty weird. That's 59 inch. They were there.
Is that a summer fish?
That's a leopard. That was actually later in the year. It was just a warm day. What's weird about that, well, I'll tell you a story about that. They all have stories. This guy, Ed Barbosa, he caught a ton of fish with me. But that's Tom Grant. He was what do you call, pharmacist. The day before that, my buddy Chuck had a fish on, and he said, I had a big one on. He said, it jumped, and I saw it. He says, it's big. He says, and it ran right at the boat. He said, it just ran at me. He said, I couldn't keep up with it. He says, and it come right out of the water. He said, oh my God, it was a monster. That's all I'd had to hear, so I'm right back there fishing the next day, right? And if he didn't say that to me, this thing hit the downrigger, and I looked back, and the rod was up. It didn't take line. It snapped off. I didn't even hear it go, right? And I turned around, and I saw the rod straight up. I ran back, took up line, I pulled, nothing. Took up line, pulled. Third time, I contacted the fish. He was swimming to the boat. If I didn't respond, I never would have got that fish. I actually set the hook on that fish, and then it went wild, and I gave the guy the rod. But I caught that one only because what he told me the next day. That's like those things that I've had. Has anybody had the muskie swim faster than the boat go on by you?
Oh yeah.
While you're trolling?
Oh yeah.
I've just a couple of years ago, I had one right out the side window, swimming out. My line's just sticking out here. I've had that happen a couple
Hey, look
times.
at that fish, it's got a lure in its mouth.
They will do it. But when they're coming at the boat, they're hard to hit. Just like he didn't set the hook.
So you do a lot of night fishing up there, right?
Yeah.
Why is that it's more productive than the
Just
day?
things have changed over the years. We always did some of it, but we weren't that successful. But with the technology you got now, you can get around there more safe and everything. You know what I mean? We're putting more time in, and it's proven to be effective. It's probably the clear water too. You know what I mean? But night fishing is good. They're both good, but
You find them up closer to the surface at night than during the day?
I would say on average, yeah. On average, yeah. 'Cause they seem to be on a hunt. You know, they're hunting, feeding.
What's the deepest you ever caught a muskie? The deepest your lure was?
I'd say probably 45 feet.
What about over the deepest water?
I've caught them over 80 for sure. Anybody got anything to add to that? I'd like to know what's the deepest anybody's got one.
I was at the Loxa about 15 years ago. I was at a Loxa thing, tackle trade thing, and there was some lures out there. And I asked one of the guys, he had his book open, a charter captain. He had a muskie in his photographs. I asked him, where'd you catch him? So in the middle of Lake Ontario. What were you doing? He goes, I was downrigging. I go, how far down was your downrigging? He says, 80 foot. Was I pulled that up 80 foot and hit on some spoon.
Isn't that something?
I've heard 80, 90 down.
Yeah, 89, about a 45 incher, decent fish.
Yeah. They can be anywhere. That's what, when they disappear, you know, they disappear, you just can't find them. A couple things, like Zach, we talked about that too. You know, when those fish feed, our fish, I'll tell you the story. My timing won't be exactly how many days, but anyway, again, the people at Governor's Island were tagging with the old tags. Put them on the outside, they stitch them into the fish. They had a big female, high 50-inch fish. They took it over by the yacht club. Well, they tracked it, they released it, and they tracked it over to the yacht club in Clayton, the bay where I keep my boat. The yacht club's out there by Bartlett Point where that marker is. The fish went into the bay, got in the weed bed, and stopped. And they tracked it for a couple days, and it was still there, right? Well, they went back for, I want to say 8 days. I could be wrong, but it was several days. They went back, and it was right there, same spot. They said, well, the thing died. So they went back, we're talking about, so let's go over and get our transmitter back, because they're expensive. Let's at least dive the fish up and get the transmitter back. They figured it was dead.
Right.
They got over, they started scanning. They had the big antennas on the boat back then, Boston Whaler. And they scanned around, and here's the fish, and it started moving. They tracked it, it swam out of the bay, turned left, and swam all the way to Cape Vincent. In one move. And it hadn't moved in like 8 days.
Until it was bothered.
Huh?
You think that boat bothered it and it just said, I'm out of here?
I think it was digesting something big, and it finally got done digesting and went to where it wanted to go.
Yeah.
But these fish, if they eat a big fish, I got one I'll show you in here. I could feel the fish in its belly. I went to pick the fish up. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was sick because I can usually pick the fish up. You know what I mean? I went to pick this fish up. I mean, it was high 50s, you know, like 58 or something like that. And I went to pick it up, and I'm having a heck of it. I said, man, am I sick or something? Well, then I felt its belly. It had probably a walleye or carp or something in it that was long. I could feel it. So you got 10, 12 pounds of fish in that fish. I didn't weigh it. I let it go. I should have weighed it, because that would have weighed up really good. It had a huge fish in it. So that's how your world record can happen too. If it has a fish like that in it, it's going to be part of the weight. You know, and they do eat big stuff at times. But then, when do they eat again? Zach and I were wondering, you know, when do they eat again?
Right. 8 days, 9 days.
Yeah, and I also said when they disappear, you got 300-foot water, 200-foot water, 150-foot water. They just go down. It's a whole different world. It's not even fishable, really. You know what I mean?
You were saying something earlier about migrating routes, and you caught one in the same spot almost?
Yeah, more than one.
Probably underwater currents and stuff.
Yeah, there's got to be something there, a current or
Yeah,
something.
I watched an interview with a charter captain out of Kingston, and he fishes out in the lake in the mouth of the St. Lawrence, and he said that over the years, he would keep waypoints where he caught fish, and he bases his whole trolling on migration routes.
Yep.
And he says they run the same, there's like currents and stuff.
Yeah, there was no detectable structure there. I went there and looked it over many, many times. There's nothing. And that
He's
was,
got over a 30-foot boat,
Yeah.
be out there fishing, you know, in the
yeah,
fall.
this water was probably 35 foot.
And he was scared to admit catching fish over 60 inches, cause he didn't want to attract people out there.
I don't think it's that repeatable, you know what I mean, but it happens, you know what I mean? I do have, it wasn't just once it happened, I have verified the same
Yeah,
thing.
and this guy
Where they
did
are
it
the
for
same-
years, so he
Yeah.
had points, you know.
Yep.
and,
But then what happens, that migration route changes.
Yeah. he
And by the
did
time
say
you figure that out, you gotta see
he
some
said
more.
you learn, and then all of a sudden they move, the currents change, and could be to anything, you
Yep.
know, from weather to.
Yep. That's Han from Han's Welding. And that was 57 3/4, I believe, on 8-pound test.
Is that Burger on the left?
No, that's Han. Yeah, I can't remember his first name. John Han, I think it was. Han Welding. Yeah.
He did have some dark hair. What happened?
He had some dark hair back then.
It's expensive to have it all changed. They have to do that one hair at a time. It's frosted. It's not all the same tone. Yeah, So anyway, this guy you'll see later on with a nice fish. He's been fishing with me for years. He has a son now that's half grown up. That's a nice fish he had right there. This one, we were talking, who showed me the picture earlier? Yeah, this is the one, but you see that pattern?
Lamprey?
Yeah, but
Lamprey?
they were cuts, they were like cuts, and there seems to be a pattern to it. There's one up there too, I don't know. I don't get many marked like that, and that was a long time ago, but that always made me wonder. I don't know what the heck is going on with that fish.
They're lamprey marks.
Could be a disease, but it seems to have a pattern. $57.5. There's a young fish, small head.
Yeah.
That's got the potential right there. That's a
I
beautiful.
remember seeing that in like Musky Hunter back in the day. Got me all fired up.
Short fatty.
It's pretty.
There's the tags. That's the way we were tagging those spaghetti tags in the back.
What year were they doing those tags?
Oh God, forever. I've still got some in the bowl, but haven't been using them. We just quit a couple years ago.
So there's still fish running around with tags in them?
Oh yeah, they've got a few of mine.
Chad, you ever see a tags fish up there?
I participated in the tagging program, like Rich.
A lot of times they're grown right into the fish. They get under the skin. You have to
Yeah.
dig them out, really.
I haven't seen any. I'm pretty confident caught the same fish multiple times, but didn't need a tag to verify that.
Right. That's my son PJ, my youngest boy, with that fish there. This here, I look like a wet rat. That's the one that I told some story about Duckboat Dave. You're gonna hear about Duckboat Dave from Gananoque. He got cancer, he passed away. I carry his duck on my dashboard of my boat that he had for 15 years in his duck boat. He signed it and everything, it's on the dash of my boat. We honor him, but he called me when he was sick to see if I'd go over and see him. And we never met face to face. He'd call me on the radio. Sometimes it was to the point where I don't even know if I want to answer him, because he was crazy, Great guy, just buggy, So he calls up, would you come over and see him? I said, yeah. So I drive over there, and he was so thrilled to see me. He said, I said, why wouldn't I come if he asked me to come see you? But anyway, there's a guy that caught a bunch of fish that nobody knew about. Big fish.
Is Sal, his old partner there, Sal Rotolo, is he still alive, Sal?
No, he got deported
Out of Canada?
out of the area
Okay.
by the Russians.
Russians?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's a long story.
Sal was a character too.
Yeah, he's not my favorite, but I shouldn't say that in public. But anyway, he lit me up at nighttime for the spotlight.
Sal?
Yeah. Yeah, they used to, I was cheating because that's why I'm catching fish. They tried to catch me running too many lines. They'd sneak up on me and light me up, take pictures and all this bull, whatever. Anyway, we had to run in. He didn't light me up again. Okay? Anyway, this day was when we were supposed to leave because there was a storm coming. We're down by 40 acres and I was marking fish and duck boat was out there. There's a bunch of boats fishing, but this storm came up. It was bad. Started rolling out of the west. You know how it gets down there. So my buddy with the white wedge, it's a 30-some foot fly bridge Bertram. They're even leaving. They said, "You leaving?" I said, "No." So I'm marking fish. I'm gonna stick around. So we're staying, and they called me when they got back to slip. "You still out there?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm gonna fish." And I said, "And that crazy Canuck is out here." I said, "He's gonna die. He's in a little teeny boat. I'm in my 10,000-pound boat, and I'm getting thrown around, right?" And he's out there riding those waves. Well, he remembered that when he invited me over there to see him. He thought that was the funniest thing ever. Calling him a Canuck and saying he's gonna die. I don't even remember really saying it like that, but I could see where I would. And he thought that was the funniest thing he ever heard. That's the kind of guy he was. He got a kick out of it. He was. But anyway, I got rained on. My mechanic was with me. We were just fishing, trying to catch a fish, and we hooked up When I looked back, he was flat on his back on the back deck with a rod sticking out of his belly button, flat on his back. I ran back. He knew how to run my boat. I said, take the helm. Let me have that. It was jammed up on the bottom. Matter of fact, it was jammed up in the bottom in 52 feet of water. We were circling around. The fish took it down. I wasn't fishing that deep. It just took it down the bottom. So anyway, he's running the boat, backing up into these waves. They're coming right up over the transom. And I got over that fish. I said, he's stuck. I mean, he's into something. So I said, I just got to pull, and it's either going to break or whatever. So I pulled the line, and I felt it shake, and he came loose. Landed the fish. When he came up, half his face was clay. He drove his mouth and half his eye into the mud in the bottom of the river, and he was stuck in there's clay all over the side of the fish's face when I brought it in. Surprised me, I never had that happen before, but that's a deal that happened with that fish. And we got it. Damn near broke the line when I pulled, but he moved. Anyway, lots of things happen that are strange out there.
Speaking of that, you've been using electronics now, and had your own boat, what, since the 70s, late 70s, right? You've seen a lot of marks on your graph over the year. You must have seen at least one that you said, what the hell is that?
Oh, yeah.
Big, I mean like shark type things, right?
It's all the way in Markham, too. It's just weird, you know.
Big marks.
Yeah, oh, yeah, there's...
Like 10 foot.
Yeah, sometimes the speed,
Yeah.
currents and everything else.
Different guys tune them different ways, too. I just try to get good marks.
You ever snag into a sturgeon and get him in?
I think I may have, but I never got him in.
Okay.
I know people that have got him in, but I've hooked a couple things I wondered what the heck I had and didn't get him in.
Yeah.
It's possible. I think I've seen him roll. I actually saw one right next to my boat. I was bass fishing, and he was in about 12 feet of water on the edge, and swimming right next to me, and it was about that long. That's the only one I've ever really identified, but I've seen him roll where you see a big dark back, you know, and it takes quite a while for that back to...
And shark fin, shark
Yeah.
tail.
Yeah. This is the, on his 58, that's not the 58, but this guy caught a 58 on his 58th birthday. He used to fish with me a lot. He'd be on there. It was 57 by 28. $58 by 26. 58 by 28. That's the one that had the fish in it. I went to pick that thing up. I couldn't believe how heavy it felt.
So Rich, what were your biggest catches the last couple of years? Like through COVID and all that.
56, 55 and a half.
Yeah. So you're getting good sized fish.
Oh, yeah.
For your stuff.
Yep. That's a double we got. Fishing with a couple other guys. We took a day off this way. Got a couple.
That is the only place you told me where you caught a fish, though. I will say that. You told me where that happened. Man.
Yep. There's
That's a
Andy.
pretty one.
Andy with his ninja outfit on. Sometimes I don't even know he's there. He pulls that hood down.
How many color variations do you think are up there? Or subspecies of muskies?
4 that I think I can recognize.
4.
That I
And do
can-
you think that helps the diversity? Like if the leopards are hurting, the striped ones do good, and vice
Leopards
versa.
are way down.
But you know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's a way of balancing
We
itself.
found out, we didn't realize that, but when they did this stocking, there's 25 or 7 subfamilies, they call them, that they know of in the St. Lawrence.
That
And
many.
you have to draw from those different family groups or else you inbreed and they just go away. Yeah.
So it's
they
a
had
way of nature keeping
to,
itself
they
from
had to make sure they
inbreeding.
balanced that out. It's all been,
27.
I think that's what it was, 25 or 27
Wow.
subfamilies.
Like Andy had a clear one.
Yeah.
Back.
Have you ever seen the silver ones?
She
They
got a
more-
silver one last
more,
year.
More forked tail. It's more.
You'll even see a difference in the tails.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's more of a distinct, straight forked tail, and they're very silver. They're beautiful.
She got a brown one a couple of years ago. Real dark. Darkest fish I've ever seen out of there.
A lot of them have a bronze. See this right here? The bronze stripe that goes right down the side. If you really look, you see it. That reminded me of the way you painted that lure. That's what got me thinking about that.
Old Goldberg.
Yeah.
I saw that picture at the Musky Hall of Fame.
This guy was a Marine. Here's the Rich Clarke story with this guy. He was a great guy. We fished a lot, but the first time he caught a muskie with me, he panicked and froze on the rod. He thumbed it and locked it up. I said, "Let go of the rod. Let go of the rod." I said, "You're thumbing the reel." "No, I'm not. No, he just went brain dead, right?" So I'm slapping his hand. I said, "Let go of it. Let go of it." That pissed him off. A Marine slapping his hand. He mentioned that we fished for years, and he mentioned that 1,000 times. "I can't believe you slapped my hand." He said, "I'm a Marine." He said, "I almost threw off that goddamn."
Richie, black releases on all your downriggers? You run blacks?
I do, yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yep, I like him. Yeah. Great guy. He caught a lot of nice fish, and he got that fish in. What a thrill that was. He was with me the time the other fish got squeezed to death. He's the one on the back deck. And I knew he knew what he was doing because he's caught enough fish. You know, anything he said was the truth.
That fish shit all over the deck.
Yeah.
Oh, I had that happen once.
Guacamole.
I sat in
What a
it,
mess.
like I rolled in it. I was.
Rich had the hose out, scrubbing that.
Can't believe you
Not
did that.
quite lake trout
Disrespectful.
style, but
They said, "You disrespected my boat." I said, "That's good."
Oh, it smells. It's not nice.
I want to see where the human does that.
Yeah. This is my old buddy that's passed away now. I called him Manasseh Smaller. He was a wrestler, drag car racer, and a crazy guy. He was a big guy. And
Yeah, he hoisted it up.
yeah, he was so happy. He caught several fish that one night. I think it was 3 or 4 fish.
What percentage of your hits come off a downrigger compared to like a flatline?
They go dead for a while, then they'll go live.
50-50?
It's weird.
No rhyme or reason?
There's not a rhyme or reason.
How far behind the ball will you run a lure? What's the shortest you would run a lure behind the ball?
I've run them 10 feet,
What's the longest?
150. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it depends on what you're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Kind of two parts. So, when you catch a fish, do you think you got one, wrap it up and go home, or do you think there's multiple? Do you
Oh.
think that these muskies are in pairs or packs?
I always figure there's at least 2, if not 4. I usually figure there's like 3 males, guessing,
Yeah.
and the female, at least. And the female will take the prime feeding spot, and the males will be out upstream of her.
So you think they hang out all year?
Competing with each other.
So-
It happens a lot.
So not just springtime, you think they hang out all year?
Oh, yeah. They're following around. I think they're competing. Those males get beat up. I mean, they're beat up. They're trying to hang with her and travel with her, and they don't just sit there. The other ones are trying to get rid of them. Yeah. And the female won't have a mark on her. Yep, that was my personal best. That spot I was down in, I caught 2 fish that day by myself. There's your tag. Now they're in the snout, you don't even see them. That one's all tagged. This is kind of a story, there's always a story. This is a good client of mine from Phoenix, Arizona. This is Charlie Ray, C. Ray Boats. His dad was the owner and founder. He brought him up here because his dad was deathly sick. Brought him up here. We caught the fish, and his dad died that evening, same night we caught that fish. So it was kind of a tear-jerking, memorable time. There's Ed Barbosa again. That's me. So you can see there's plenty of, no lack of nice fat fish out there. I like that one. Good times. The Andy Show.
Rich, I come from a family of charter captains too, and my dad and my uncle, they took out like Rob Ray and a bunch of famous people. Who's the most famous person you've ever taken out of you though? Just out of curiosity.
I had the pitching coaches from Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh,
I
okay.
had them out. Foster Brooks' entourage fished with me. I didn't fish with him. Nobody liked to fish with him. He wasn't really funny. He was miserable. But his entourage were fun. Boot Powell, paid for the Dodgers. That guy was so big. His fingers were as big as my neck, I believe. I mean, he was a huge guy, man. Unbelievable. I come right to his chest.
Yeah.
I do that on everybody, but he had a neck like this. He was a really great guy, very nice guy. If I remember right, I think he owns a marina or something in Florida, maybe. But nobody's super famous, but a lot of successful, good people.
Never had to have a Secret Service follow you around.
No, luckily. There's Duckboat Dave. I gave him this when I went to visit him. This guy's Rick Verbeen from St. Clair. I don't know if you've ever. He's a heck of a great guide out there. If you ever go to St. Clair, he's on the Canadian side, and he's an excellent fisherman. He always wanted to meet me. He came down. He got a 54-incher with me. Then I went back up there, and I actually caught a 53-inch fish on St. Clair, which is a pretty big muskie for that area. They don't have the girth ours have, most of them, but they're nice fish.
Years ago, you told me that was the only other place you musky fished. Is that true still? So other than the river,
Yeah,
one
the only
trip.
reason I went there, he invited me up, yeah. I've never been anywhere.
Never caught an inland fish? 'Cause
Never
it's a
tried.
different fight.
Yeah.
You go, Zach always tells me, he's like, pull your pants up, brace up, be strong. These are a wild animal. It's a lot different than catching a Chautauqua fish or something like that, and it's true.
Yeah. No, I've always concentrated on that because they're big. They're big. I mean, I went out there, people wouldn't even believe it, I caught 40-something fish. I never told anybody in Clayton I caught 40-something. I caught 40-something fish in a trip there in like 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You don't leave heaven.
To me, that's okay, you know what I mean? But I really, when you got your mind on the big one, that's, I'm not really after numbers. I wish I could catch one of those every day, but I'll put my time in just because that's what I want. But St. Clair is action-packed, crazy fishery. There's Duckboat Dave. He's a bird. You see pictures on the back wall? He had lots and lots and lots of fish.
Now, is that mount that's in the store in Clayton something you gave them, or did they?
In
The grocery store.
that was Mike Bucher. He went to school with me. His dad owned that place, and we caught those fish on my boat. Yeah. He had a mount and
That's
put.
pretty neat to see.
Yeah.
Hey, I know him.
Yeah. Jeepers, Andy.
That's a pretty one.
Yeah, that is.
Clean.
How about the fish?
How come we don't see lamprey marks on them?
What's that?
How come we don't see more lamprey marks on them, you think?
I don't. I do get them with it, but not that many. Sometimes the lampreys will fall out. A lot of times they're up in the gill. But don't know. They are what they are. Beautiful lighting on that one.
Right.
This is the. Guy
That's
I
where
told you
I've
in
seen
the
them
picture
right.
earlier. That's a nice fish you got.
Right in the gills.
I've seen where there's like.
And this is the guy you saw this year, yeah.
Like you got shot with a gun.
Here we go. There we go again. I'm not just showing the same fish with him. He's a musky magnet.
Richie, we were out that night. Within a half hour of you catching that fish, we caught one and another buddy caught one. All within. You're like, oh, we caught a fish. I'm like, oh, we just got one. And then my other buddy,
Isn't that something?
within 20 minutes, half hour, 20 minutes, all on the same lure.
Really?
They were all on the same lure, same sort of lure.
Wow. Yeah, it's weird how it goes. Feeding windows. This was the last fish of the season for me this year.
Pretty one.
And that was gale. There was nobody on the river. It was gale force. Unbelievable.
That is a pretty fish.
Now, when will you not go out? When do you call a trip? The winds, certain direction or certain.
I don't call them very easy. I've been out there when I shouldn't have been there.
Oh, I know it.
But I've been up there past Browns Bay and all that, where I go up into the lake waves just to get the ice off the boat because it's so heavy. Take them over the top and get some of the ice off the boat. Yeah, because I've been built up bad a few times. Yep. Oh, this was interesting. This was in Musky 100 years ago. But there's a 42 and a 44 guesstimating the size. I saw them floating, picked it up. They were decaying a little bit. But that fish blew out the gill, went into the mouth of the one fish and blew right out his gill, and they were locked together, both dead. And trying to figure out how that happened. All I could think of, they were in a pot of bait, and one shot in, the other one's mouth was open. I don't know how that would have happened. It ripped his gill right out, it went in there so hard. Thought that was pretty neat. This is my older boy right here, my nephew, and a friend.
He's excited.
Yeah, that's Thanksgiving. It's traditional. Anybody in our family hops on the boat. We go out in the morning, fish.
So we're seeing all these big fish. Would you say that there's any similarities between them, or are they all their own circumstance? You know, would you say like, oh, I do better in high wind. Oh, I do better with this. Is there any similarities you can draw from those big fish?
Just that I think if I have a place where I've caught small fish and have not caught a big fish, I don't fish it.
What about pike? If you catch a pike,
I look for marks. Any fish I catch, I look for.
so catching a pike, you're not. Some people will say, oh, this structure is filled with pike. There's no muskie here. Blah blah blah.
I've got to the point where if I'm catching too many pike, I'm out of there for sure. Yeah.
Because you would think that a muskie would push them out, or what is
Absolutely,
your?
Yeah, and if I'm not seeing marks all over them. Yep. Good question. There it is. Oh, you asked about the lamprey marks. I had a Tati do a replica of this fish. See that scar? There's a lamprey scar, and there's some black dots there. All those marks are on that repo he did to me. I had a biologist call me out of the blue, and he says, I saw you got a big fish. Are you going to have a repo made? I said, yeah. He says, I got to tell you, he says, if you want it painted right, he says, Fatanti, he has ads in the book. It was a tip on him, so I used him. Unbelievable paint job. And the mount is not, if you look at it, the mount's built like this, not like this. It looks like a real fish swimming. I'm not looking for an exaggeration, but you got the girth and you got all those marks on it, just the way they are. Phenomenal painter. If you're ever looking for somebody to do a fish that looks right. This is the first time that picture's been on.
What about Hans?
Ever seen that? That's the.
You familiar with Hans the Carver?
I know all of them. I don't know much about them.
He's expensive.
Yeah.
He'd make you a wood replica.
Yeah.
Rich, you ever get a tiger muskie up there?
Yeah, not very often though.
Yeah, I've never seen one up there. I've seen them in the night.
Oh, I've got, during the season when we're bass fishing and stuff, we're more likely to hook into smaller ones. But I've seen them over 50 inches. Seen one. It was like 52.
Do you catch a lot with your bass gear out when you're fishing?
More than you would think, yeah. Yep. Yep, there's the tape on it.
Man. Football.
You're the first ones to see it. This fish here, I'm kind of proud, that's my granddaughter's, but that fish was modeled after my fish, and I worked with the artist, Will Salisbury, who just passed away of cancer.
I was wondering who did that.
He's unbelievable. Anyway, he came and we studied my 60, and he wanted, you gotta have enough basic features to look like a muskie, but you can't do all the detail, and that's all built out of steel. I have a picture riding the thing in his shop. It's huge. He
I've
did a heck of a
rode it
job.
too.
I'm pretty proud that
Not in the shop.
he used me as a source to build that. There's the boat. View from my office. Just a beautiful shot. That's the back deck of my boat. All right.
Richie, if you mark a fish and say it's suspended 25 down over X amount of water, where would you ideally place your bait? Above it, the same level? Do you know what I mean? So if you mark it at 25 feet, where do you want to put your lure?
It's a good question. I generally stay real close to the depth they're at, but if I do anything, it'd be shallower. I know they come down on them too, you know, but I don't know why, but I would vote for around the same depth they're swimming at.
Rich, if you were gonna target early season muskies, where would you start?
Zach could probably know more about that than me. I don't do it much, you know what I mean? They come off spawning and they work their way out, you know what I mean? So I would think it would be quite a bit shallower situation early, you know? And then, you know, your temperature and conditions drive where they're gonna be. You know, they don't always come off the same day, they all don't come off at the same time, but I would think they would be wherever they can get their food after moving out from the spawn, which is quite shallow, you know, along the shores.
Do you see any big changes in temperature during the summer through, because of the lake turnovers on Lake Ontario and stuff like that? How will that affect it?
I just like the temperature dropping myself. I like to see it going down. When it starts making the movements down, I like that condition rather than going up. That's just,
So does that usually mean it's gonna possibly be better then?
yeah, they seem to,
So when you
they
see,
seem to get active.
so when you hear like the lake turned over, then maybe that's a good time to,
Could be, yes.
Yeah.
You know, again, everybody's got, every rule that you think you know is made to be broken, so they're gonna fool you on just about every one of them. But I do like I like changing weather. I like fronts coming in now, like the barometer moving. That sort of stuff.
What do you feel signals the migration? Is it a water temperature? Is it the moon? Is it the... Do you find any consistency of when these fish show up?
I always blame it on bait. You know, I think they're driven by eating more than anything, and I like to know that the bait is showing up. When I start seeing what I like to see with the bait, I figure there can't be fish too far behind. Thing is, you get so much bait sometimes. There's been so much bait sometimes the water changes color. I mean, literally, the room this big, you can just see the whole pot of bait there, and the water changes color. So it can be too thick at times, I guess. You know, you're not going to catch a fish in the middle of that. The outside edges maybe, but yeah. Yep, good question.
You talk about grinding and putting in the time. Like realistically, how many muskies do your clients catch in a season from whenever you're starting to whenever you're stopping?
If I go over 20 fish, I've had a good year. My best year, I got 46 fish.
But you start fishing when? In September?
Yeah.
So September,
I got those
October,
40-some
November.
fish and
So
26 outings.
And then the second part, I guess, of my question would be, how do you manage those expectations with your client? Right? They see the pictures, like they're convinced, like they're gonna give you a check and they're gonna catch that fish.
They're not.
How
No.
do you handle that?
No, everybody that fishes with me knows it's a sport fishery and you're fishing for the king of the river, and the chances of you getting it are slim. And if you don't understand that, you don't even belong there. You know, no, we don't put any false.
There's no guarantees.
No, absolutely.
But
not.
you told me at one point you almost could guarantee a fish during... What years were those?
When it was just before the year before the die-off. The year before the die-off was one of the best ever.
We're talking late 90s, I mean, early 2000s? What years?
Mid-80s.
VHS was like
85.
2000s.
I don't even remember the date, to be honest with you. We'd have to look that up, but it was the year before the big die-off. I just don't remember the date, but that was one of the best years.
2005.
Yeah, we were getting multiple fish consistently for quite a few years before that happened. It was unbelievable. Couldn't believe it could change that much that quick. Yeah.
So the die-off, we think, is mostly to blame from VHS or
I think
the.
my
spawning?
feeling is, and I could be completely wrong, but I go by my gut feelings. I think it was, sewage dumped.
But not people, not the fishermen, it's not, it's
No,
something
no,
natural.
it was, some sort of a freak event of, between pollution and temperatures, and the fish were maybe weakened also. It was just a bad.
What's the highest temp that the water gets up there, cause you don't see.
I've seen
over-
82 on the
Yeah.
surface, oh,
really?
absolutely.
I've never seen it that warm.
Yeah.
I've never seen it over 76.
Well, didn't they,
I've seen 82 2 days in a row.
didn't they test a lot of those fish, and didn't they determine that it was VHS that
Yeah, but they can determine a lot of things, you know, you could have VHF, so it doesn't mean you're all gonna die. You know what I mean? I mean, they
Yeah.
died in droves.
Yeah.
There was a temperature inversion there too at the same time. They were weak from spawning, it was just a whole, it seemed like it was like a perfect storm.
So like sometimes in the spring you see big die-offs when the ice melts and other fish. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
what was weird
small
is,
fish, small panfish.
is how the muskies got nailed, but yet, that year I don't think any pike did. If they did, we didn't see them. You know, it was weird, you know, how it targeted them.
Richie, I mean, this might have been going on since the Lord put these fish in the river, you know, at the Pincheon or
Oh,
whatever.
I
you
always
know.
see some dead fish every year, but I never saw the quantities that were during that one die-off was substantial.
Have you ever caught a blue pike?
A blue-nosed pike.
You got-
Casey,
you
if
got-
you
you
got,
talking
you still got
about
that
walleye?
picture? No, this is, he caught a
I caught
pike.
blue perch.
No,
I caught blue
he
perch.
caught a pike with a blue mouth.
The whole thing was like, yeah.
He'll show you a picture.
I've caught blue perch, I got a picture, photograph somewhere of a blue perch next to the green perch, yeah. Yep,
That's cool.
that happens. There used to be called a blue pike, which was a walleye. There was blue walleyes in the river, and they became extinct after they blasted.
Did they?
He got a really blue, like the whole fish was blue.
Yeah.
Head, mouth.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Yep.
Do you use any of the new electronics, panoptics, things like that?
I do not use Panoptics. I'm looking at some transducers. I've just seen some of these transducers, what they're showing are unbelievable. I want to see more activity in my riggers. I want to see what's following. Once in a while I'll get them streaking. I'll see them come down here. Usually I don't see them at all, but I want to get better at that. I'm looking into that right now.
We just got it last year and you can actually.
Panoptics?
Yeah.
In your riggers?
No, we have,
Yeah, see, there's some guys doing some stuff where they're facing it back to the riggers and angling it right. I gotta get some information from the.
yeah, you can see where your lure is running, you can see fish follow, come up and look at your lure.
Wow, I'd love to do that. I get a little bit of that, but when I release them, I can see them go down and stuff easier because I'm not moving.
It comes separate, so
You gotta buy a separate transducer.
that's not mounted.
It's like a P30 all the salmon guys are running.
It's a 32,
It's a-
34.
It's an angled, yeah.
Our time is good anyway. I'm willing to talk as long as you wanna talk. I didn't wanna bore you to death, but I hope you found this interesting, and I really appreciate you guys. I think more than you appreciate me coming out and doing this. I mean, I respect the family of musky anglers that are out there grinding. You know, I think that's a very unique thing, and not many people are willing to put their time and effort into a challenge like that. It's a big deal. So thanks for coming.
I think it's pretty cool you drove so far just to come here.
Yeah.
I've never done it, you know, it's kind of neat for me to see people and actually talk to people. And I do not consider myself a big deal, believe me. And I'm just a fisherman like everybody else, and I fish hard. I'm not a big deal. Ask anybody, I try not to be. Yes.
Will you just give us like a basic strategy? So we're going, someone comes and fishes with you. Maybe tell us a little bit about your lures, your line, you know, why you fish the way you do. You know, just more, instead of the river, maybe talk a little bit more about your fishing and your technique and why.
Yeah, I think it's percentages. I play odds, you know. I'm not really a numbers guy, but I know you keep odds in your favor. If you can gain anything, I've talked with Andy about this. if I can gain 5% more hookups, or 2% more hookups, I'm a happy camper. I don't catch that many fish. If I can put a couple more in the boat, that's better for me, and I won't lose that world record fish that came off. You know what I mean? So we're working a lot on tackle. I'm doing custom tackle. I have most of my stuff made, or I make it. It's not traditional. It's not all for public domain either, but all I can tell you is pay attention to your terminal tackles and things like that. And the weak spot in the link is going to be what gets you. When you finally do get that fish on, many things go wrong. So, nicks in the line. I use super braids just because I like the action. It's kind of like metal, steel line. Okay, I do run monofilament. I still run mono. It's like fishing with a big rubber band, but I like it. It keeps fish on. I'd like to ask how many people fish.
Yeah, but that's just your downrigger, right?
What's that?
That you run a mono on?
I'll run it on whatever.
You run it on everything.
Whatever I feel like.
Just because you don't lose fish, because of that stretch.
I
St.
see-
Clair guys, that's why they all
I
run
think it's
mono.
more, I think you hold more of your fish on. You know, again, it's a percentage thing. But I don't fish all monofilament. I don't fish anything all one way. I change things up depending on the situation, visibility and stuff like that. But leaders, I want to talk leaders.
What
Somebody
about rods too? Rods and rod action.
that stiff rod cost me a world-class fish, that's what I can tell you, and that was gone the next day. I sold them, and I had new ones built, and I'm building rods. The Musky guys that build rods try to tell you how to build your rod. I know what I want for a rod. I don't want them anything like what they're building for.
So you want
Musky rod.
you want some fiberglass in there.
I want it to give,
Yep.
not too stiff. And so we're doing some things that are pretty neat. We're looking at the bigger, heavier game fish out of the ocean. What are they doing with that? They hold them on. There's gear that holds them on. What are they doing different that we may not be doing here? There's lots of places you can look. There's cat fishermen that do things that hold, you know, large fish on, and you can learn about terminal tackle from all sorts of anglers, and you can apply that to what you're doing. If you can put another 5-10% hookups or catch rate, 2% I'll take anything to gain. So that's where we're at now, fine tuning stuff to the point of where we don't have failures and we keep the fish on.
I can tell you Rich runs light drag, lighter than I like, right, Rich?
But that's just for the hit though, right? That's just for the hit, and then once you hook the whole fight.
He's the light, it's, you're cranking,
Yeah.
it's a crank.
What about leaders, Rich?
Yeah, I was curious where you're going with the lead.
Well, I'm curious. I want to let's talk leaders.
Wire up on the river, only wire. Wire. And I don't run wire anywhere else.
Do you prefer jointed lures or solid lures late in the season, November till December 15th?
I vary it, I really do.
Doesn't matter by time, you just run what you feel.
I go a lot by instinct. I'm weird. I don't remember the names of the islands. I can't remember numbers. I'm an artist, you know what I mean? It's weird. I go by instinct. I have wicked instinct. I can tell you that.
More visual.
And
More visual,
and
because you're an artist.
if I get a feeling that I need to do something, it'll bug me until I do it.
Do you know where all the buoys are without looking at the fish finder?
All the what?
Those buoys out
Oh.
Are you guilty of hitting the black ant buoy? I have hit that. I broke a rod on it. We've hit it.
Tripod to the tune of about $5,400.
Nice. So other people have hit buoys out
Well, I was
there.
running in the fog, and I was always gonna put radar on the boat. Now I haven't. I didn't put it on, and I was walleye fishing by myself, and I wanted that limit. I wanted the last fish, right? And the fog set in so bad, and I always got criticized for running too far north of the tripod buoy there. Well, I took off, and I headed too far south with dead fog. I could not see off the boat. Took off and watching my depth finder, it's coming up. I should be in 50, 60 feet of water, and I was in 20s. I go, uh-oh. So I started backing off, and I turned to the right. I said, deep water's gotta be to my right. I'm veering, and I turned right into the buoy.
Nice.
Couldn't see, I ran right over it, flipped it upside down, kaboom. Yeah. I'm still married.
Oh, man.
How do you explain that when you go home?
Was she with you when you hit it?
No.
Oh.
No, but just,
The expense.
nobody wants to hear that you did $5,000 worth of damage to your boat last night being stupid.
Did it do that much damage? Yeah.
I took both shafts, both props, both struts, both rudders,
Nice.
You made it
and
back.
drove it home.
You made it back.
I
Goodness.
moved one engine. Yeah, the chain wrapped right around. I still have the prop. Took a gouger out of my prop with the chain.
So you have a twin engine with two screws, right? Okay, all right.
Richie, where do you
So that was bad. I mean, that makes an awful bad noise.
where do you think the fishery is heading up there? Where you're going? What do you see in the next 5 years?
Oh,
10 years?
I believe if they continue doing what they're doing and we continue releasing like we're doing and taking care of these fish and the experimental stocking from what we're seeing, the quality of the fish, I think it's going to be superior. Really, I think it's going to get right back. These fish are big. The little fish are even heavy for their size. They're heavier than they used to be. At 40, 45 inches, they're heavier than they used to be. Great girths on them. We're not seeing any skinny, slinky.
Do you think the little fish migrate the same as the big ones, or are they more homebodies?
I think there's rearing grounds until they're a certain age, and I think they start doing their thing. But I think they hang out in rearing areas for a few years before they really start moving. Because I'll catch small ones when I'm pike fishing early in the season, casting, and they'll be right in with the pike. Little fish.
Do you tee your hooks up there?
Pardon me?
Do you tee your hooks?
Yeah.
On the big fish? Oh, every time, all of them?
Pretty much.
Why?
I want the hook to be exposed out the side of the lure.
We've gotten into debates up there because
Yeah?
we've had a couple real big fish and they tore out the hooks and we didn't. And I thought if we had that more slack, maybe it wasn't
That's-
necessary to tee them
No,
up.
that's the lifelong thing. Is my drag too tight, too loose, whatever, and I'm always going back and forth trying to figure it out. I compare it with other people, and I just do what works for me. I have had on downriggers with monofilament out, fish take the plug, not rip any drag, zero drag, just release it and bring it up and have a hook straightened right out. Now, how do they do that? I don't know if they got strength to open their mouth and stretch it or what, but I've got pictures of hook failures that you go, how could that possibly happen?
Release on that, maybe a little bit?
Rich, you ever have a fish hit your downrigger ball?
I have redundancy that I don't get false releases, knock on wood, and I don't get hangouts. I have a failure system. In other words, if the release doesn't work, I have another system that will release.
Have you ever had a
I get false
fish?
releases and they're pretty accurate. What's that?
Ever have a fish hit your downrigger ball?
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Any story
Unbelievable.
behind that?
Unbelievable. Down by Fisher's Landing, this happened by Rock Island Light. And I was pulling out off the islands and I was on the edge of the channel, making a turn. And all of a sudden, it just went, I'm hearing all this noise.
The wire.
And I looked around and I go, what?
The wire was making that sound.
I said, what am I hitting, a shoal or something? I mean, I'm in deep water, right? And that thing was right out, swung right out, and all of a sudden come right back, quieted down, and went right back down, and the teeth marks were right in it. I had one grab around that ball and take it right back.
That Rock Island, is that where the lighthouse is, the entrance to the Narrows?
Yeah.
It's like, there's a shipwreck.
Need a hook on our downrigger ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Steve were fishing there.
Unbelievable, the noises it makes when
We
they grab
pounded
on.
that spot.
So it was just the wire making that sound.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Me and Steve were underneath the bridge, casting underneath the bridge, and we were like a cast lengths away from shore. Here comes a Canadian cruiser, military cruiser, Navy. We're casting from shore, just a length's cast. We're on 110 foot of water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's deep in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of it's unfishable,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Rich, if you mentioned mono, have you had trouble getting hook sets when you're running mono?
Yeah, I always feel like I've lost more fish than I should.
We all feel that way. I don't think one person in here.
No, really, I mean, yeah, it's that's the thing. I mean, I sharpen my hooks. Every day I get cut. You can't even touch my hooks without getting hooked yourself, and I can't keep a fish out half the time.
So Richie, for any fisherman, maybe 3 pieces of advice you would give them.
The hardest thing for me to overcome is getting my butt kicked.
So the
and
mental
lick the wounds
aspect.
and go back the next day and do it again. It is brutal, especially when you're in a slump. And then if you have health problems on top of that, I mean, I've been as low as, I think, a turtle's belly, you know what I mean? Bad. And to be able to recover from that only makes you better, but boy, it's not easy sometimes.
You just gotta say, well, it was nice being out there.
Honestly, nobody likes to get skunked, and nobody likes not to catch
All right.
fish, but that's part of this business. You just gotta get used to it.
So, mental aspect. What would you say number 2 piece of advice?
Make sure you check your tackle. Everything from burrs in the eyes to a nick in the line. I've had them pull the split rings right into an oval and don't even know it. I've had to take the hooks out of the plug. I've had to snap the end off of a bad tempered hook, and there isn't even a hook on there, or a point, you don't know it. Anything, you just gotta look at stuff, watch. And people don't look at the fish that they're catching. Are they marked up? Is there something there? You know, pay attention to all the environment, you know. I get a lot of clues. And when I was younger, you know, I used to have these thoughts, I wonder if this is right. It took me 20 years to have the confidence to say, you know what, you've been thinking that for 20 years, and it actually does work. Stick with that, you know what I mean? Your mind's a funny thing. It's very easy to trip yourself up and doubt yourself. So you gotta have confidence. You know, it's hard to build that confidence up.
You remind me of something. When I'm not catching fish, that's when I go to the bottom of the box. What am I gonna, anything goes out there. Have you ever put a top water out there just for the hell of it and seen it get hit?
I have not.
No?
No, but I agree. Sometimes we just take a stab. We switched that one time, right?
Yeah. What about switching baits? What's your philosophy on that? Switching lures?
When do
How
we
often?
switch lures?
How often?
Yeah,
do you
this
switch?
is, it's ridiculous.
That's what he doesn't like.
Many people, as far as I'm concerned, might better stay home for half the day and watch TV because they're not fishing.
You're wasting time.
Constantly got their stuff out of the water. You can't have your stuff out of the water half the day and expect you're gonna catch more fish than the next guy. You might better go out there with 2 lures and keep them in the water than to switch 100 of them out every 2 minutes.
Does color make a big difference for you in your fishing?
I get onto patterns, yeah, and sometimes it's for a year and then it's gone. It'll work like crazy.
We see that inland too, it's 1 year, it's.
And you
gold,
think you're onto
next
it,
year
boy, I
it's
got this, and
copper top, but
then it's
nothing
gone.
gold.
So ride the wave when you get them. If you pick up on a pattern, it's really weird. It's hard to pick up on a pattern because the hits are few and far between. But a lot of these hits you're getting are subtle. You don't even realize you get them. Many times there'll be marks on the plug, and I never saw the hit.
I heard you call them phantom hits.
Yeah. I'm always watching. I'm always checking my stuff.
So
I check
are
the fish,
you- how do you feel about all this new electronics that everyone's using?
Can't hate them for using it.
You don't use it?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I don't have Panoptics, but I put a lot of money into, what do you call it, autopilot last year.
Oh, yeah.
Best thing I did,
Love
man.
that on the green.
I'm looking at transducers right now. I wanna see more. Can't hate somebody for doing that.
Do you
I
ever
don't
see
like,
side imaging and all that live scope and?
I do not, and to be honest with you, if the fish is over there and I'm over here trolling, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna jump over there quick enough to make a difference. I'm not gonna go over every fish you catch. Most of the fish I catch, I don't even see. You know, so,
What percentage of your fish are caught around bait fish, and what percent are caught on an empty screen?
that's a good question. I would say it's slightly in favor of the bait, but not as,
I think we're the opposite.
really.
I think so. We get.
Well,
it's
if there is too
velocity.
much bait, that's a situation too, but a good amount of healthy bait around, I like. But catch them both ways. Like I say, most fish you catch are in sea, especially muskies. I mean, it's not like you're sitting over a school of them and
Have you noticed any, where you could read, bait fish patterns where size of the pods they're in and stuff like that?
Oh,
Be
absolutely.
able to tell, well, there's something chasing that.
Oh, yeah. You'll see them streak, you can see them go through, yeah. You can see bait patterns change when they're feeding on them. They'll move, and you can see activity. I can see the activity. I'm used to looking at that. You know, yeah, when fish are feeding on bait, it takes on a different pattern, different movements. You can see the streaks and things happening. Yeah.
So you said when you encounter a big fish, you'll go back day after day. What's the length that you kind of say, okay, this is not going to happen?
If I'm not marking anything,
Okay.
and I don't get any hits or nothing, but like I say, in that period, it was like 2 weeks. I think I got 4 fish out of that spot, which is for up there is good. You know what I mean? And I got a good one. And so I was just betting on that it's feeding in that area, hadn't left yet.
How does barometer affect your fishing?
I need some answers on that one.
No, I'm saying like high pressure. We've seen studies where the fish will suspend a lot. You get low pressure. You get those storms coming through.
I like it.
A lot of times they'll come into break.
Yeah, when it changes like that storm when I got wet, there was activity. I could see it.
So you like it. I've heard some people say I like it moving between 29.8 and 30.
I just like it moving.
You just like it moving on upward or downward.
Down was always my favorite, but both are good. Changing is good. Change is good. When things just go flat, the bite goes flat, it seems.
What about lunar phases? Do you pay attention to that? And is that correlated with your catches?
Yeah, yep. I mean, all that stuff matters. Yeah, yep. Not right to the T, but you know what? I think what happens sometimes, like full moons are famous for big fish and things happen, but a lot of times those fish are feeding during the full moon and they go into a negative pattern because they're feeding like crazy because they can see. So therefore, sometimes the odds are against you when you're in a peak time because they're feeding. But once they get full, they stop at some point. I mean, they'll gorge themselves, but when they stop, they might stop for a few days. Yeah, so that's like an educated guess thing, you know. There's no right or wrong way to necessarily approach it. But
What about down current versus up current? That used to be a big thing back in the day.
yeah, I know. When I first started up at Cape Vincent, they would only run down current.
I've heard down current during the day, up current at night,
They
so you
did
go
down current in
slower.
the daytime because I saw them do it. They would pick right up and run, and then just troll, long troll back. Yeah, a couple miles. Yeah, I never fished that way.
You never worry about that.
No.
Richard, do you think that with the clear water, the boats scare the fish, or I mean, I've heard some surveys up there where they go try to, radio. They try to check some of these radio transmitting fish, and as soon as you get in the bay, those fish go out to the deep water. Do you think that these fish are getting smarter?
I think they've heard enough boats where it doesn't really bother them that much. And I can tell you that when I lost a shot under the boat, he went under the boat. Many, many times I'll let them go and they come right back to my boat and they lay right against the side. They will come right back and lay against the side of my boat.
Like it might as well be a big tree to
If
them.
I could reach my arm long enough, I could pat them on the head. They'll sit right there, right, laying right against the side of the boat. They see.
It's covered to them.
Yeah. That's why they go under the boat. And when you cast, they'll go under the boat and come back out and hit, right? Well, I assume you do that, but I don't cast a lot, but I've heard of them going on by, then they get under the boat and you're still casting figure 8 and they'll come from under the boat, not from where they came from, But I know they think that's structured. Like that fish I lost out there and he ran at me and then went under the boat. Why else would he go under the boat? Only to get under it. I mean, I think, and it worked. He got off.
Last question. Have you ever seen any muskies eat anything other than fish? Whether it's a turtle, whether it's a cormorant, whether it's a muskrat. Have you ever seen any them eat anything other than fish?
All I can tell you is I've seen ducks taken off the surface by fish. Young ducks, especially in the shallows. But I can't tell what it is that's eating them. It could be largemouth bass. It could be pike and it could be musky. It could be a lot of things, but, can't say I've actually seen that, but I'm sure, I have seen ducks dive, I've seen loons die that never came up.
There was a video, I think it was on YouTube once, of somebody had a video of a muskie taking a duck they were in front of their cottage and.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they will do it.
Yeah. It
I'm
was
sure they
pretty
will do
cool.
it. I have found baby ducks in largemouth bass. I've seen them in it. So fish they'll eat anything, you know what I mean? I mean, a muskie will eat, if it's there, I don't doubt that they would eat it. But I can't honestly say I've seen them grab one and identified it. I've seen fish take ducks, but I don't know what the fish was.
All right, I lied. I said the last question, but I'm not. What about trolling? What about speed? Tell me your thoughts on speeds. When do you fish fast? When do you fish slow? When do you vary it? Do you vary it every day?
Yeah, I vary it. I do. I go by the action on the plug, because it depends on which way you're running in the river. When you're going to that current, you can slow down sometimes and it's ripping. So there's not really a speed, there's just not. I always look for action on the plug, and I know what my plugs are doing. My rods show me the action.
So you think each plug has a certain speed where it performs best?
Yeah, and I do run different plugs with different plugs, and I'm not saying it's the best situation, because you can't get every plug to run perfect under those conditions. But a lot of times I'll put a pattern out of the same style and size, you know, so you get that, like a school effect, you know. But yeah, no, you gotta watch what that plug's doing. I put them over the side, I tune them. A lot of people don't even tune their plugs. Where's that plug running?
You get more on turns,
I get plenty on turns. I think they like
the
that.
turns trigger more.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that that helps. Yeah,
Are you fishing boards?
I do. I fish one board.
Just one?
2 boards take my maneuverability away. I like to fish structure and stuff too, so I make a lot of turns, and
I know someone who tries to fish 4.
I would not give up my maneuverability for that. I did. I tried it, just running 2. It's not worth it for me. I lose too much productive runs that I like to make.
Yeah.
So maneuverability is a key for your style of fishing.
Absolutely.
So would you consider yourself a structure fisherman or a suspended open water fisherman?
I love them both, and my favorite is structure fishing. I really know, because I've been out there so long, I know the structures real well, and I love to get out there.
So now that you say you got the autopilot and everything, you got that all tied in, and you have certain runs that you.
Yeah, I've got to get better with it.
That you have locked in, that you just lock into that run and it goes.
I'm still perfecting that, but
Yeah.
just to, like at nighttime especially, you take a client and say, steer my boat for me. See that light away up there? Yeah, they go, yeah, they don't even know what I'm talking about. And the wind's blowing, the next thing you know, you're spun around. It's a nightmare for them, you know? So it's so much easier on them just to have that program. Just go straight, get me out of here. Really, it's great. It's awesome. I mean, it's like having another person on the boat. And it really wasn't fair to them, but I used to have to put them on the helm, even if they weren't used to it. Somebody's got to do it, you know? But it's much, much nicer without it. I love it. Yeah.
So as far as booking a trip, do you have spots available this season still? or
Always do. It's booking
can
up
they
pretty
pick
good.
Day or night, or is it mostly night you wanna go out, or?
I'll go anything. I do 4-hour evening trips. I do
Okay.
8-hour trips or 4-hour
So
day
4
trips.
or
4
8
eights,
hours.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you prefer the evenings over the mornings?
You took the question out of my mouth.
Because I know on the small inland lake
You're
I
out of
fish,
questions.
I like the evening.
I think it varies
Well, I
with
think-
the moon cycles.
That's true too.
Like
Yeah,
2
you-
weeks will be good for the morning, 2 weeks.
I relate them a lot to deer. I think there's a movement just like any big game.
Yep.
I think there's that evening movement, which is part of that deal. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I have had a lot of success early in the morning, but probably not statistically as much.
So what about midday? Noon, bright, sunny.
I've had so much good luck between 1 and 2 o'clock.
Have you?
Unbelievable. Really, it's crazy. Even noon. It's not supposed to be a great time. Slow time for most fish. I've had a lot.
So just have a lure in the water anytime.
Yeah. Boy, boils down to that. Keep those things running and switch them out. I mean, you gotta be realistic. But some people pull all their lures in at once and switch them too. They keep something in the water, you know?
Rattles versus silent baits.
Hmm.
When would you
I
use
like
one
rattles.
compared to the other?
I prefer making some noise. That's why jointed. When you ask about the jointed, I like them making noise versus not. But I catch a lot of fish on straight baits too, you know. So I don't know what the answer is there. A lot of times it's just what I feel. I just grab what I think is going to work right, and sometimes it's out of desperation. Yeah, there is no answer to it all, but I think just paying attention to what you're seeing happen. Look at your lures. You'll see teeth marks on those things when they come in. Sometimes you never saw the hit. It tells you there's something in the area. Don't leave if you're getting hits. You know what I mean? Common sense goes a long way sometimes.
Don't leave fish to find fish.
If you see.
That would be number 3. There we go. It's rule number 3.
Area, you kinda know there's fish there.
But I get these feelings, I'm
See
telling
it.
you. Your spot that you like up there, Zach. One time I was way up almost to Snake, and it was bugging me. I gotta get down, I'm watching the clock, you know, because it's gonna get dark, you know. I wanna get down there so I can get some time in. And it bugged me until I picked up. I ran down there, and within 5 minutes I had the fish on. I just get these feelings.
Imagine how many you would have got if you went with your first
I wish
feeling.
I get that feeling every 5 minutes.
There could be other times where you see a fish or whatever, or you know there should be fish there, but then you tend to say, should I leave or should I not? What would you do if you're not getting anything, so you just
Yeah, I get in
keep
arguments.
in the spot. You know there's some fish there, you know.
I get in arguments with myself till I finally get in the corner.
Does-
I've either got to go or you don't.
Does color make a difference at night? White bait versus black bait.
I think so, but I believe they can see a lot more than what we think they can. Somehow they I don't know if they're seeing it with their feelings or what, but they can target baits in pitch dark.
Well, they got
no
the
matter if
ladder.
they're dark
huh?
or not. You know what I mean? I don't understand how they are as good as what they are. Because in the daytime they'll take a hit and miss it. They're blind when they make the strike. They open their mouth. They're no longer got visibility of what they're hitting. And if it's moving too much, they miss it. They miss it more than they hit it.
Do you have any superstitions or like rituals?
We got more superstitions than anybody.
Yeah.
Why can't we leave the house until we get there?
If we don't see a deer on the way to go fishing, we might as well not even go.
I'd love to see.
If we
deer.
see a deer peeing in the stream, we're gonna catch them. If we have a turkey fly over the car, we should have already been there. If there's cows standing if the cows are laying down,
In the water, go home.
go home.
Really?
Oh,
I used to love to see them in the water up by your place,
Yeah,
pike
fish
fishing.
aren't biting.
We got more superstitions than anyone.
Yeah, I have my mojo.
What's one of your superstitions?
I have a thing I call the musky nut. It's just it was given to me as a gift. It was like a rock made out of ceramics, and I've rubbed it so much that the coating is off of it. It's on a piece of. I hang that on my dash. Rub the nut. So we rub the nut, and then there's
The rat,
oh, geez, got the rat. Yeah,
rub the rat.
slap the rat.
Slap the rat.
I had the rubber chicken, but the UV got to him. He fell apart.
Dave's rubber duck.
Yeah.
We rub that.
Talk to the duck. We say hello to Dave. I got a lot.
We're doing a lot of.
So I think we all got superstitions, right?
I shake the teeth. I got. How about rattle the teeth?
Something on his head.
Twizzlers?
Oh, jeez.
You gotta have Twizzlers.
Yeah, Twizzlers are very effective.
3 pounds of Twizzlers on every trip.
I can eat a pound of Twizzlers in a day.
What about scents,
Richie used scent that I've never seen. Let us know a little bit about scent. You don't have to tell us the exact scent you used.
Everybody.
WD-40.
Yeah.
WD-40.
I know a lot of guys that Cape Vincent used to use WD
Yeah.
all the time.
And then you pull your lure out 5 hours later and it still stinks.
Said it's made out of fish oil, right?
Is
That's what they
it?
say.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I know a lot of charter captains used to have WD-40.
They do too.
For the salmon?
I have a
Walleye,
whole
musky.
Walleyes.
Up in Cape Vincent.
Cause on all species of fish I use sand,
Okay.
and I don't think it hurts, you know. Pardon me?
You do use that?
Oh, yeah. I have just about anyone you can mention. They have one out there now that doesn't even hardly smell, but it's got all the,
Yeah, what's the name of
Pheromones and
that?
stuff in
The bass fishermen guys
Yeah, I
are using
think
it.
there's
It's
bass.
clear.
Melons yellow.
it stays on good, but there's not much scent to it at all.
Some of that
I mean,
stuff
you don't
really
detect it.
goobers up your lures though.
What's that?
Some of that stuff really goobers up
Oh,
your lures.
yeah. Yeah, I don't use stuff that ruins your stuff. But, I do like that because it doesn't smell up everything, you know what I mean? And it stays on pretty good. And good reports, from other people that are using it.
What's
Have you
that,
ever
Rich?
done suckers?
I can't tell you the name of it, but they got a $1,000 base store. It's just a clear, and it doesn't stink too bad. There's a little smell to it, but it doesn't leave a
There was
odor.
a girl at Leesville one year in Ohio, came in with a 44, 46, and I asked her what she used for scent, and she sprayed it with a perfume. True.
You never know.
She's not fishing with me.
She had a perfume bottle.
She ain't deer hunting either.
So anyway, I
Musk
want,
oil?
I wanna go back, I wanna go back to the leaders. How many are using fluorocarbon?
Inland, I do. Inland.
I cast with them inland.
What test?
I think it's 60 or 80 Seaguar, and it's about, I don't like a long leader when I'm casting. Yeah, you lose, you know what I mean? About a foot, maybe 15 inches inland, casting.
And what's your theory on that? Tell me
Oh,
why
I get
you,
a fishing on it.
why would you, choose that over a wire?
It's kinda like the action of the lure. There's two wires. There's one braided, that'll give your action, a better action on your lures, and the other one's stiff. Now, stiff leaders, I like them on certain lures, but not on grain.
Richard, I got you. I went back to using mono for the stretch. I use an 80-pound Andy mono, and I use
For
it
leader or for?
inland trolling. I won't use it up on the Great Lakes, but I'll use 60 or 80 pin Andy just for the stretch, because I'm using a braided line and chaos rods. I mean, they got some give, but they're stiff. And my thought is that these muskies don't care about leader. It's not a concern, but I use the mono just for the stretch to lose
That
less
makes sense.
fish.
That makes sense.
I think fluorocarbon's a gimmick that we've all been sold.
So do I.
You feel that way?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel once you get above a certain test,
How can you not see?
120
It's
pound.
throwing bubbles off of why it's running. It's
Exactly.
crazy. To me, it doesn't make sense. It's not invisible.
Yep.
Can't be.
Isn't I thought the fluorocarbon was supposed to be a little more, abrasion resistant.
It's not.
It's not?
No, not in the bass world especially. I noticed my fluorocarbon leaders, I got away from them because they get beat up a lot quicker than the mono. But I use Berkeley XT, extra tough XT. That stuff is, to me, is foolproof. I don't think there's anything much better.
Use that for leader material,
And I use it for line.
for line too.
For my bass, all I fish is 8-pound
XT.
XT. I swear by it. I've caught 40-pound muskies on it. It doesn't fail.
What about line for braid? How heavy of braid are you using?
45 to 80, depending on the situation. What you want, if you want to dive good, smaller. But the zebra mussels, I've gone a little heavier just because I lost a good lure last year hitting zebra mussels. It'll take that stuff. Get a nick in it. I've lost just about anything you can name, but last year wasn't a baker.
It's more expensive now to lose a lure.
Yeah,
You know, if you lost
but
a swim
if it's one that works,
back
it just
to $1,000
breaks
fish.
your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
But a lot of
your
it don't work.
your swim whiz that you caught 20 fish on is the most valuable thing in your boat. Who cares about the latest $100 lure you got? I mean, if you got a lure that's working, that's your most expensive bait.
There you go. Yep.
How we doing on questions, guys? We got anything else?
I noticed in your nice presentation, there was a few shots where you fished alone. And now that you're getting a little older, from a fellow musky fisherman, I'll give you my phone number if you ever, I worry about you.
There you go.
Maybe
My-
you shouldn't be out there all by
My-
yourself. I'm a good man, too.
My wife worries about me too. I'm going to Guatemala, right? She says, well, what if you die out there? I said, I'm gonna be just as dead as I am if I die right here, you know what? I'm gonna live, you know what I mean?
Wind direction and fish catches. Is it true? You know, the old out of the west is the best, south is. What are your thoughts on wind direction being on the river?
Yeah, that's a good
I will tell you.
All
one
my
thing that
questions
is
are good.
Weird. How many people fish in St. Lawrence here? Raise your hand.
I used to. I didn't like
I
the heat.
feel that muskie is about the only fish that will consistently bite on a north wind on the St. Lawrence River. Most
Do-
fish shut down.
Do you find that you've actually caught some of your biggest fish on the north wind?
I
I'd have to look at my logs, but I'm sure I have.
I have
Absolutely.
inland as well, I'm north.
There's something about muskies, they don't shut down like the other fish as bad. Yeah, I agree on that one. Yeah, southwest is my favorite, just because it's broke down a little bit, it catches some lee. West is nightmare.
Exactly.
Do you ever fish your baits way up high over deeper water?
Yeah, yeah.
And what would just the bait being up high would be a reason for that? Are there any other times?
Depends if I'm seeing stuff, you know what I mean? Whatever you're seeing, I'm trying to get into where the activity is, you know what I mean? I've heard different theories on that. I've heard of split the depth in two. That used to be the old school, you know, when I was being taught. You know, if you're at 40, go down 20. I don't know what's right. I just kind of watch for activity. I'm hoping to see, I like bait. I look for bait, and if there's bait setting up at a depth, I figure there's gotta be predators around that.
What happens if there is no bait?
Then I just go by whatever I feel like doing, you know, and no, I just set an average of, you know, maybe 15 foot down,
Yeah, about halfway.
surge. Yeah,
Do you feel the fish come to the same structure year after year?
yeah, yep. Musky spot's a musky spot, and another fish will take it over. I believe the females are the queen, and I believe they run the roost. Everybody wants to be with them, all the males want to be with her, and they compete, and they get the best feed, they're dominant, they get the best spot. I mean, that's what I'm seeing at my catches, I almost know where they're set up, especially if I'm seeing the males. You know, because they're not side by side usually, unless they're spawning or something, but they're following, and a lot of times you'll catch packs of fish in a small area, and you can move 5 or 6 fish in a day out of a small spot, because there's more than one fish in there. But generally, if they're set up like a female feed on a feeding spot, they're pretty much by themselves. There might be another fish not too far away, but they're not next to each other. I don't feel that. Honestly, I don't think I've ever caught 2 large females off the same spot on the same day. I can't remember vividly that ever happening. I don't think it has happened.
So you won't fish until September for muskies?
I never have. It's just growing up the way I did. That's when we started, and that's when we finished. So I've always done things the same way, but I'm starting earlier now. I'm just more interested in learning some new stuff, experimenting with stuff. So I'm trying to fish earlier as much as I can. But I get so busy fishing for other stuff. I'm busy almost every day.
What percentage of your fish do you catch do you think are residents versus migratory fish? Is there any way to tell?
Not really. Not really. But I see waves. They come in waves. You'll get certain sized fish in a wave, and they'll be there for a day, 2 or 3 days, and then they're gone. And then a wave of big fish might come through where there's 2 or 3 large fish caught in the same general area over a couple days. So, and then they're gone.
There's more
They're
common
moving.
spots that are known that migratory
Yeah.
fish pass.
Somebody told me about a fish that went all the way to St. Clair from Lake Ontario.
Yeah, went from St. Clair all through Erie to Buffalo Harbor and back.
In one season, right?
One season.
Isn't that something? So there's so much we don't know. But I tell everybody, if you spot a fish and he doesn't swing his tail, he just goes with the current. In our area, he's gonna be 3 to 5 miles away in an hour without even
That
doing
would be
anything. Now, if he's chasing something, moving, they can be anywhere.
So 3 mile an hour current, 24 hours, 72 miles
There you go.
without moving a fin.
Yeah, so that's why sometimes they are not there. They just cleared out and went. They get out a pot of bait, the water's so clear, they see flashing and bait, and they're not on something. I believe they get right on it and live with it until they lose it or whatever might happen. I think they'll follow it. Just educated guess. I can't prove it, but it makes sense to me. That's why I like bait.
Any more questions? I don't want to. We're on an hour and a half on this video. I just want to.
Like, so to speak, when you're guiding, do you give, like, I'm just wondering, as we get into chartering and stuff,
I
do you
try
talk
to,
about your
that's a really good question, because what I try to do is tell them about these scenarios that are bad, that are gonna happen, so it isn't in the middle of the fight, all of a sudden you're bitching at somebody because they didn't do something. I tell them what can go wrong, here's what you gotta remember, it's gonna happen, that fish is gonna come at you sometimes during the fight, faster than you're reeling, and you're gonna say, I lost it. It's gonna happen, don't stop. Crank until you catch up with the fish, do not stop. At least that's in the back of their mind, and I can say, I told you, crank, 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 and then they'll crank. So I give them a lot of warnings about different things that could happen. If the fish jumps, I bow to it. Take the pressure off it, let it land in the water. Don't pick the head up out of the water.
Net them head first?
Well, absolutely.
Every fish?
Yep. I actually last year I think I netted one just because of the situation. He turned and I had to come from behind and it was not comfortable. But no, head first.
Swim out of the net.
He tried to, but I got it in, I got lucky. Well, I got a big net for that reason. But once in a while, you gotta take your stab. I mean, it isn't always a perfect situation.
Have you ever hooked fish not in the mouth?
Oh yeah.
And what is your rationale behind that? They just came at it and missed it, or
Well, sometimes you drag it over and hook them, but they swat it with their body.
they swat it with their body? Sort of get out of my space.
See if it's what it is.
Because no lures ever swam like a minnow.
Yeah, they'll just not brush it. I mean, I think they come up and whack it sometimes with their tail.
So you've caught them in the mid-body,
Oh,
or
yeah.
you've...
Everywhere you can think of, really. Not a ton of times, but enough times to where it's not just accident. I think sometimes you actually hook them. Boy, they fight different if you hook them in the back.
think you got the world record.
Oh, they're just gone. Yeah, you can't turn them.
That's the worst.
Yeah, and I have had them on, have them throw the hook, get off, and have them get back on again
Oh,
too.
wow.
Yeah, that happened once last year. Yeah, and I've had them hit. I had one hit downrigger. It was a radkey. It went. A couple seconds later, the other one goes, right? I had them at different depths, different distances out, and I saw them converging, so I had the one guy, I said, open your bail. I said, well, flip your bail open. I said, I think you're crossed up. I said, you either got two fish or this other fish is in your line. So he opened his bail, just let it go, and play the one fish, right? Come to find out, had both those lures crossways his mouth just like a dog bone. And they were at different depths, completely different distances away from both. One was close, one was far out, and he hit them both.
2 for 1 special.
Yep. Yeah. It's unbelievable what they'll do sometimes.
Made that happen on lake trout. Lake trout eat both lures.
So,
She's reeling
you
one,
don't
I'm
think
reeling.
you've
We got the
lost
same
your
fish.
passion or drive after 40-some years, you still are.
No, it's renewed this year.
Yeah, isn't it?
Because I've had some health issues,
Yeah.
and I'm not woe is me, but when you start feeling good and you can do it again,
Appreciate it.
you never
Yeah,
know it's
there
your
you
last
go.
trip, so you know what? And it's something I've always loved. When I was a kid, you saw me touching the fish. I always loved to wonder what was down under that water, you know what I mean? I don't know why. And you're either a fisherman or you're not. Do you feel that way? Do you passionate about it? And it's really good when a kid has that feeling, because when they go fishing, you know where they are. I went to where I bought my own stuff when I was young. I had to save my money, buy my own reel, and I wasn't letting that out of my sight. Like I say, we didn't have a lot, and I bought my own stuff, good stuff, and I took care of it. And when I was fishing, I was fishing. So it's a good thing for a young person to do, and, it's,
If the money was on the
respectful
line
thing to do.
and you had one time with one bait and it wasn't a Zach Baker bait,
Might as well stay home.
what would you be running?
Believer, Jake. He loves his Jakes.
I know what it is.
Pressured.
You're going after that, you're going
How much
after
you
the
offering,
63
Zach?
by 33.
Yeah,
What
now,
would
come
you
on,
put out
you're
there?
beating me up, nobody's giving me
No, I'm
anything.
not gonna say it.
What? What is it?
I'm not gonna say it.
What is it, Andy?
I know it.
I like them all,
He does, he does. shift them
but
up.
I,
I'm just-
So there is no favorite. Everything works in its own time and place. Everything's a tool.
I can't. I tell you, what's surprising is I've caught a lot of
And not all of
fish
them.
on racky lures, and I quit using them a while ago.
Just because you have the same lure doesn't.
Cause I had a, I
You
just,
sold a lot of rackies too.
I'll tell you what,
Isn't it funny how certain colors we just stop using and certain baits we just stop using for no reason?
yeah, I got them back on the boat again, I think we're
Did you
gonna.
have one come apart? Is that what happened, or you quit?
No, it was actually, this was over a dispute, and, Gail, they fished with me,
Yeah.
I've fished with me many times,
Yeah.
and he caught I wanna say 56-inch fish, and they publicized that it was the biggest,
That fish at night? Yeah.
biggest fish that was caught in 30 years. And I had the 59 at that time, and 58. So I called him up, I said, Gail, I said, after all the promotion stuff I've done with your lures, I said, and you're gonna say that without even mentioning my, I said, you can say anything you want, you can call it anything you want, but don't disrespect my accomplishment that I did and caught on your lure and gave you credit, okay? That 59 came on ragging, okay? And, so it ticked me off, I took him off the boat. Yeah, I got other stuff that works, but.
Well, I know you still have about 100 of them.
Yeah, they're back on the boat. I forget them after a while. I don't
Time
know.
heals,
I only
time
run for
heals.
35 years.
Gotta forgive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have some sweet action.
They are different, and they really wiggle.
I got it.
But, we had a lot of fun, they were fun people and all that. But he got mixed up with somebody that was trying to blow smoke and not be truthful, and I don't like that. You know, it's not fair to people to go out there and actually accomplish something.
Sometimes it comes with fame and money.
Well, it's just part of the deal.
Richie, here's one for
Hard
you.
to swallow.
Is it better to share information or is it better to be quiet?
Well, I think tonight it would be better to be quiet. No, I'm just, no, absolutely sharing information is much, much, much better. If you have reliable, bad information is terrible. It'll just screw you up completely. Good information is awesome. And that's why I like to strategize with people that know what they're talking about, and you'll make good decisions, and you will gain percentages by doing that. Two heads is better than one. You don't want to listen to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, though. You know? And the only way you know what you're talking about with this is put in your time. You don't have to do it for 40 years to know what you're talking about. You just have to put your time in. And your experiences, those things that happen, mean something. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I can learn from everybody in here. I guarantee it.
So here's a question. We always go into Clayton and, we don't drop our lines until we're over the border. There's fish there, right?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
fish on the American side. Do you
Oh.
overfish right there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't get him to put one on until we're over there. The life of me. Says no fish in America.
Trudeau's got those fish trained. They get right to that border, and they'll sit right there. You can see it. He's gonna deport
They
them.
won't give them any passports.
No, they're done. Zach, you're not laughing.
There's no fish in there if you ask him. Not on the American side.
Well, I appreciate you all believing in what I got to say. I'm not gonna send you down a bad path, I'm not a good liar anyway. I can't remember the lies I tell, so I don't even bother anymore. I try to tell the truth, and honestly, the secret is fish hard. I've always considered myself a grinder, and I consider anybody that put in this time right here, you're interested in grinding for these things, and that's a respectful place to be. You don't need to be a BS artist to be a good musky fisherman, you need to be a grinder. And share good information. If you don't wanna share it, just don't share it. It's up to you. You know what I mean? But good information will make a better fisherman out of you. And if you can work with a good partner, it really makes a difference. It really makes a big difference. And I fish with guys like Andy. That's who my clientele are. I wanna fish with people. Like, you ask me what do you tell them? I tell them the real thing, and I only want people like that on my boat, honestly. I don't want somebody that can't hack it. You know, that's not built for it. You're not gonna have a good time. Don't do it if you're not a troller. You know, and you gotta lick your wounds and take your licks. But boy, I tell you, the reward is great.
If someone wants to cast on your boat, is it?
No, I've casted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's not designed to cast, but if I get the right day with a light northeast breeze, you know, that's really good condition. I can cast and do well.
Yeah.
But I don't cast a lot.
I got one for you. What's the shortest line you've ever caught a fish on up there?
Probably 10 feet.
10 foot.
You know,
Oh,
10 back.
really?
You ever try the tubes, like the Red October tubes?
I have.
Or any of the jigging?
I have not.
Presentations?
Well, I shouldn't say that. I jig with smaller stuff, and I've caught them jigging, bucktail jigs and stuff like that. I've caught plenty of them jigging, just like you would for walleye or whatever. But, I actually haven't got into the big stuff. I'm interested in it, but I'm not geared up to do it, you know. But the stuff obviously works. It works great, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm a troller more than anything else. Anything else I do, I'm just trying to learn, have some fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, can always learn something.
Hey Rich, what's your favorite rod holder? Do you ever, do you switch them up, or is there one kind you like most of all?
You won't believe mine. They're just Canon plastic and the bracket. And I had, back then, there wasn't a big lot when I started. There wasn't a lot of choices.
I know.
And I made a rod and put 4 on the side. I can run 14 rods off my boat.
Just a big black plastic one.
Yeah.
That have give when you hit the dock with them.
You don't hit the dock.
Yeah, I've broken them.
Yeah.
I've broken.
So that's what I
salvage
use.
too.
That's what I use. I don't do down rods. I just straight flat.
Well, you also don't get the.
You don't get a lot of weeds though on the surface, do you?
Well, summertime you do.
Oh yeah.
Die off maybe?
All the time. Yeah. Yeah. They slow up late in the fall, but it's pretty brutal at times.
Your downriggers collect them all up?
Yeah.
Seed
That's
beads
an
and all that
advantage
crap?
of them. Yeah. They do help with that, which is nice.
Keep your-
What about board releases? All right, so you're out there running your big board. What release are you running off those? Are you running cannons? Are you running
I use the Canon.
with the chartreuse tips, the yellow tips?
No, they're just pink.
Pink.
The heavy black.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. Out in St. Clair, they use the ones that have the yellow on the tip. They're like a big clothespin type thing, and they have yellow.
Like the salmon ones.
Chartreuse, yeah.
Yep.
And they swear by them. They work good. I just use what I've always used. They work good. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for Rich? We paraded you now for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I love it. I came down here. I don't mind, but I don't want to bore you to
Rich,
death
your
either.
beer's got warm.
Do you need help with that picture of beer?
Yeah, well,
Hey guys, hey,
I
can we,
can tell you one thing. It's gonna get drank warm.
hey, I'm gonna wrap up this video. Anything else? Hey, let's give him a hand while we're starting the video.
This is only your second presentation publicly.
First one in the United States.
First one in the
Oh, you're
US.
welcome. Yeah, nobody's ever seen me.
Yeah, thank you.
I've never been anywhere.
I
I
got
went to my
so
first Musky show when I went to this show there this year, and people didn't believe it. That was great.
so we're gonna put
I get
this
to
up
see
on.
people, you know, I've always been real low key.
Hey, Richie, wave to all the people watching this online. Hey, because we're gonna post it
never
up.
lie.
He'll never lie. Hey, book a trip, Signman Charters. Yeah, so hopefully everyone enjoyed watching this video, and leave a comment. Tell Rich thank you for coming down, spending his time, traveling all the way down here. So
I'll tell you what, it was a real pleasure. You're great people. Thank you very much for being so respectful. That means a lot to me. Thank you.